When you buy a paper sewing pattern, it comes with lines on it, dotted lines, details with symbols, writing on it, explaining different things. But do you need to put all of that on your own patterns when you make them just for yourself? I'm Ali and I have been making my own patterns since 1992 when I first learnt how to do it at college. And I always make sure I put the right symbols and lines on my patterns, because if not, you might make it straight away, it all makes sense. But if you get it out again after a year or so, it's not going to make so much sense. So I think you should stick to using the same pattern symbols that you would normally get on a bought pattern, but you can tailor them a little bit towards your own understanding if you want to. If you're not showing them to anyone else, as long as it makes sense to you and it will make sense to you in the future, then that is enough. If you've seen any of my pattern cutting tutorials, you'll see that I still make my patterns the old-fashioned way with a pencil and paper. I don't digitise them, partly because it's just quicker and partly because it's more fun, it's more accurate. But yeah, mainly because it's a lot quicker and easier. Unless you're planning on selling them as PDF downloads or sending them to a factory, you really don't need to digitise them. However, for the sake of this tutorial, I have drawn patterns and symbols up on the computer because it's a lot clearer for you to see. So rather than just look at the pattern as a whole and look at all the details, I'm breaking it down one thing at a time. I'll start with the most basic and go on to little details towards the end. If you want to refer back to all of these symbols, I've also put the graphics on my website. There's a link above and in the description if you want to take a look at that too, and you can always do a screenshot to refer back to. So just to summarise first, this is how you are likely to see a finished pattern. This is all the kind of level of detail that you're going to have on it. But as I said, I'm going to go through one thing at a time, but this is just kind of an overview of what you're going to see. You'll see the stitch line, the cut line. If you have to cut anything on the fold, you will have the arrow for that. You'll have a grain line. It should be fully labelled, any notches on it that you need, all of those kind of details. And then when it comes down to details, you'll have buttons, buttonholes, pleats, gathers, all of those things as well. So the first thing you are going to do is you're going to be drafting your pattern. You are likely to be doing this from a block, or you might just be doing it straight from measurements, but you're going to start with the seam line. So the dotted line on this is the actual seam line, and this is the line that I would be drawing when I'm drafting a pattern in any of my tutorials. And then the line around it is the cut line. So this is the seam allowance drawn around the finished pattern piece. So if you're to buy a pattern, chances are it's going to be in multiple sizes. So you're probably going to have lines with all different kinds of dots and dashes and solid lines, things like that to follow for each size. But making your own pattern, you're going to just have the seam line that you are drafting for the size you're making, and then you can add the seam allowance on afterwards. So you don't need to do it like this with a dotted line and a solid line. I just did this so it stands out really easily. When you're making them for yourself, I tend to just do a solid line as I'm drafting it, and then I draw another solid line for the seam allowance if I'm adding it to my pattern. Obviously, you don't need to add the seam allowance. A lot of the time, I just add the seam allowance as I'm cutting it out, but that is entirely up to you. But do make sure you note on there whether there is a seam allowance or not, just because when you get it out in the future, you want it to make perfect sense. Once you've got all of those basic lines, I would say the next most important thing is labelling your pattern. You need to make sure you write on it if it's the front, the back, centre front, side back, all of those things. If you've got quite a few panels, for example, a skirt that's got quite a few panels going down, you could number them 1, 2, 3, 4, going from the centre front to the side. Just make sure that you get everything labelled so it makes sense. When you're drafting it on your big piece of paper, it might make sense, but once you cut them out, some of these pieces can look very, very similar. So make sure you label them up. And also, I would recommend naming the project or the garment. So for example, if you're making a basic dress, call it basic dress. If you're making a shirt dress, call it shirt dress. Because if you've got multiple patterns, even if you keep them in separate envelopes, you've only got to have one bit fall out and then you're wondering which one it belongs to. So I would label them up as well, or you could give them a reference number and then keep a sheet of paper with all your reference numbers and what they are. But just make sure everything is really clearly labelled, because again, when you get this out in a few months or a couple of years time, you want to know what's what. You want to know which piece is which and which pattern they belong to. The next basic thing is the grain line. So I think this is really important because when you're making your pattern, if you've got dot and cross paper, it's a little bit more obvious, which is straight up and down. But if you haven't got dot and cross, and I'm imagining a lot of people will be using plain paper, once you've cut it out, you might not be able to see really clearly what's what. So just draw a line from top to bottom with a little arrow on the top and the bottom, and that indicates the grain line. If you're using something with a pile or a print where it needs to all be cut the same direction, then you can also put an arrow with just one arrowhead on it to indicate which is the top and bottom. And then if you're making something on the bias, your arrow is going to go diagonally. There's more detail about that in my bias cut tutorials, but fundamentally it goes diagonally so that when you put your pattern piece on your paper, you make sure you get that in the right direction. As I said, more detail on my bias cut patterns. I won't go into that in this video. So that grain line, like I say, is just something that I think is pretty essential. It only takes a second to draw on and it is well worth it. You'll be able to cut your pattern pieces out knowing everything is perfectly in the direction it needs to go. Even if something's slightly off, it might make those seams messy, it might make it hang or stretch wrong. You need to just make sure everything's in the right direction. And then, of course, you need to write on these pieces how many bits you need to cut out. So you need to write whether you're cutting out 1, 2, 3, how many pieces. You need to write down whether it's cut on the fold or if it's just cut as one piece. And then if you're cutting more than one, just make sure you write down if it's, let's say, 2 pieces, are you cutting 2 identical pieces or are you cutting 2 mirror image pieces? If it was, for example, a shirt and you've got 2 front pieces, they would be a mirror image of each other, one for your left and one for your right side. And you need to make sure you cut them as a mirror image. You don't want to cut 2 pieces the same. But if it's something like a pocket, then you don't have to worry about that. Generally, they're going to be symmetrical, but you can just put cut 3, cut 4, whatever you are doing. If you're going to be cutting something on the fold, and by that I mean folding your fabric over and then lining the edge of the pattern up with the folded part of the fabric, what you need to do is you draw a line and then you have little arrows pointing to that folded edge. I've not seen this kind of marked in any other way. This is a really standard way of cutting things on the fold. And then what I'd also do is just right next to it, cut 1 on the fold or cut 2 on the fold, however many pieces you're having. But that is a standard way of doing it, and I would definitely stick to doing that on all of your pattern pieces that are cut in that way. Notches, these are so important. So I have put on the graphic here different ways of drawing a notch on a pattern. There's various ways of doing it. The way I learned was using the top 2, which is a single notch and a double notch, which is literally just a line and then a little kind of line next to it. You can also use the little triangles, but I've just learned with the top ones and that's what I do, but you can use both and you'll see both on commercial patterns as well. I think generally a lot of the time they use triangles on commercial patterns, but I don't use commercial patterns, so I don't know for sure if that's still the case. So when you would use them is when you're doing something like a princess seam or a sleeve and you want to make sure everything gets lined up. So if you look at my diagram, the notches don't look like they line up. One looks slightly higher than the other. And this is because when you're cutting out your pieces, when you're drafting your pieces with the seam line, you draw your notches lining up. But once you add your seam allowance on, they can actually look like they don't line up. And this is why it's really important, because when you start piecing your pieces together, when you come to sew it, you want to know that they do match up in the right place. And if you don't do this, you could just end up with a seam that just doesn't sit nicely. Or for example, if it's a princess seam, you want your easing on the rounded bit that goes into the armhole. You don't want the easing on the straight bit. So you want to make sure that you've got it all lined up so the easing is in the right place, or it's just not going to sit great. And for sleeves as well, it's really essential to do notches. You generally have one at the top of the sleeve and one further down on the front and on the back, and then they line up with the shoulder seam on the body piece and the notches that you put on the armhole on your body pieces. And without those, it's going to be really hard to get the easing in the right place. So with a sleeve like this, where there's no gathers or anything on the top, you need to make sure it's all eased in the right place, or it could just sit really unbalanced and just not look or feel great. So notches are really, really important. Don't skip that part, because as much as you might think it's saving time making the pattern, it's going to add time when it comes to sewing, and it might cause problems with fitting. So that's a really essential thing. And what I tend to do, this is just how I was taught, if it's on the front, I use a single notch, and if it's on the back, I use the double notch. And this is just because, for example, with a sleeve, when it's laying down, you can really clearly see which is the front and which is the back. And if you've got bodice pieces like this and the front and back look similar, once they're cut out, if you've taken your pattern piece off, by the notches, again, you can really clearly see which is front and which is back, just by whether it's got one snip or two snips. You don't have to do that, but it's just the way I was taught, and I have always done ever since. So I think that's all the basics. I think I've covered everything, and I really hope I've not forgotten anything. Please comment if you think I have forgotten something really fundamental. But I will now talk about all of the other bits once you've done all of those basics. So this is when you need to add more details. So whereas everything I've talked about so far, you generally need all of those things for whatever you're making. These are things that you might use, you might not, depending on what you are making. So in no particular order, one thing I would recommend, if you're cutting something like a panelled skirt where you've got several pieces, it could be something with a few seams and they all look very similar, all of these pattern pieces, you might struggle to work out what's what. I just tend to do an arrow pointing up so you know what's the top and what's the bottom. If they're fairly straight, it might not be obvious. And also an arrow pointing either to the centre front or centre back, or an arrow going the opposite direction to the side. And it just means that when you're looking at it, it's really obvious. It should be pretty obvious anyway, you'll have written on it so you'll know what's the top. But it's just one of those little things that only takes a second, and sometimes helps if you've got lots of pieces that look similar, or if, for example, you have got a skirt with panels, if it's shaped slightly at the top, and it's just straight at the bottom, it might be really hard to see it if that shaping is quite subtle. And also it might be quite hard to see which is the hip side and which is the side that goes nearer the centre front or centre back. So that's why I just write that on, just to make it really, really obvious. Now, when you buy a pattern, it might have an indicator showing where the zip goes and where the end of the zip is. To be honest, when I'm making patterns for myself, I don't tend to mark the zip at all. The length of the zip just comes down to what I want to use and sometimes what I'm able to get. That is the right colour and the right type for what I'm making. So I don't tend to actually put any indicators of where the zip is at all. So that's just something that you could write on. You could mark where the length is if you want to do that. But I just work that out when I come to sew it. But what you are going to need if you are having buttons and buttonholes is markings to show that. That is the kind of thing you want to know when you're making your pattern. So if you look at this example, this is how it would be on something like a shirt. And you can see where the centre front line is, and then you've got a series of lines. One is where you fold it, one is where the centre front is, one is the bit that then folds back on itself. So you have a series of lines, and if in doubt, just label each of these. I would label centre front, fold, stitch line, cut line, all of those things, just so it makes real sense. And when you come to cut it out, you can just cut around the edge, knowing that all of these other lines are marked, and you can always do some tailor's tacks or put some pins in to mark where the lines are, or just refer back to your pattern when you come to do the sewing. But all of those lines are going to really help make sure that you get your centre front in the right place, you get all of your placket details correct. And then the other markings on this are the buttons and buttonholes. You can mark these however you want, but this is a fairly standard way, using a cross for buttons and these little lines with a little bit either side, or sometimes they're indicated with a line on one side for the buttons. And just think about which direction they're going, whether your buttonholes are going vertical or horizontal. The way I was always taught was if something is pretty fitted, you might want them going this way. So for example, on a collar stand, you want it going that way, because when it pulls, you don't want it to pull kind of sideways on the buttonhole, because it will open up and it just won't look great. And then you want them going vertical when they're going down a placket, something like that. So just think about which direction they're going and mark those as well. And then when you're cutting out, you can mark all of your buttonholes with a tailor's tack or with some chalk or something, and they're there ready for when you come to sew them. And then the last thing is gathers and pleats. So you really can kind of indicate these how you want to. If they've only got to make sense to you, then think of a way that does make sense for you. Quite often I'll draw a little diagram if it's a pleat, because you can have pleats that are box pleats, they could be folded over, they could have multiple layers. There's all different ways of doing pleats. So I tend to do a little diagram on my pattern just so I remember when I get it back out exactly how it looks and folds. And then I tend to draw lines going down at all the parts where they fold and where things meet. And every pleat is going to be slightly different, so you just need to write on it exactly what's what. So for example, if it's a box pleat, you could mark this is the centre of the box pleat, these are the bits that then meet up in the middle. If it's a kind of standard pleat, you could put that it overlaps at this point. Just make sure it's really clear how it works. But a series of lines where all the folding points are is the place to me that is most logical when it comes to pleats. And then with gathers, I tend to do a line at either end. So for example, if you've got a seam and then you have a little gathered section, it could be to do the work of like where a dart would be or where some shaping is, or just a design detail. You might have like some gathers just on a front section here. What I tend to do is I do a line either side of where the pleating is. And then, so for example, on this dress, if I had some gathers at the front and the finished size was 4 centimetres, but my bit of fabric was 10 centimetres, my lines would be 10 centimetres apart. And then I just draw an arrow from side to side indicating that's what needs to be gathered up. And then I will literally write on it, gather to 4 centimetres. If you're gathering the entire panel, you can just write gather to and then the size you need to gather it up to. But just write something that makes sense to you, because again, if you're not making this to sell, it only has to make sense to you. Just make sure it makes sense to you when you pick up the pattern again in the future. If you're anything like me, things aren't going to make sense if you don't write them clearly. My memory is terrible, so I literally write everything down as if I'm writing it to someone else. And then when I get it out in 6 months, a year, or even longer, it just makes perfect sense because I've written it as if I'm writing it to someone else. If it's completely new to me because I've forgotten everything, it still makes sense. So just make sure you don't cut corners, because anything you do to save time when making your pattern, generally you can add on double that time when you come to cutting it out and sewing it, because you'll be questioning what's what, is this right, is that right? If it's all written down, you'll just know exactly what's what. So hopefully I have covered absolutely everything. No doubt there's something I've forgotten. There's always something. I try to remember everything, but I just don't. So please ask in the comments below if there's any symbols I've forgotten or that you're not clear on, and I will get back to you. I always get back to any questions I have in the comments. And as I said at the beginning, there is also a link to this in the description where I've put all of the details and the diagrams on my website, so you can refer back to them or do a screenshot if you want to save it for future reference. So if you've enjoyed this tutorial, please like it and share it, and make sure you subscribe to my channel as I put new tutorials up every single week.